What's the most expensive business mistake you ever made?
Yeah, that's a good question. The most expensive business mistake I ever made. I'll tell you that there are mistakes in business that can cost you time. There are mistakes in business that can cost you money. And there are mistakes that cost you momentum, that cost you relationships, that cost you reputation, valuation, sleep, years off your life, right? The most expensive mistake I ever made was picking the wrong business partner. Not a bad employee, not a bad vendor, not a bad campaign, a bad co-founder. And here's the hard truth that most founders don't want to hear. The wrong partner can cost you more damage to your business than almost anything else. In my case, I had a co-founder who just simply gave up. He no longer wanted to be in the business, but he also didn't want to let go. And that's a dangerous combination. He didn't want to contribute, but he still wanted control. He didn't want to build, but he didn't want anyone else to move forward without him. And over time, he became friction from inside the company. Friction with our investors, friction with our business partners, friction with the team, friction with every decision that required speed, trust, and alignment. It almost felt like he wanted the business to fail because he no longer wanted to be there. And the worst part was he nearly pulled it off. We eventually had to shut him out of the business just to keep moving, but even that didn't solve the problem. He was still sending emails to investors, to partners. He was creating confusion, trying to create chaos. He was damaging trust from the outside. The business survived, but the damage was real. We lost time we never got back. We lost opportunities that would have helped us scale faster. We reduced the value of the company, which cost us millions of dollars. We created scars with people who mattered, and some personal reputations were damaged along the way. The experience taught me one of the most important lessons I now bring into my coaching work. You don't just pick partners based on talent, money, access, or enthusiasm. You pick them based on alignment, based on resilience, based on character, and how they behave when things get hard. Because every business gets hard. The real test is not how someone behaves when the launch is exciting and the investors are interested and the revenue's moving. The real test is what they do when cash gets tight, when decisions get uncomfortable, when growth gets messy, the business demands more from you than expected. That's when you find out who you're really in business with. This is why I coach founders to look beyond the obvious growth levers. Yeah, we work on revenue. Yes, we work on customer acquisition. Yes, we work on positioning with offers, channels, execution, scaling systems. We work on all of that. But we also work on the decisions that quietly determine whether a company can actually scale. Who's in the room? Who has control? Who creates drag? Who's aligned with the mission? Who's protecting the company? Who's putting themselves ahead of the business? That question or those questions matter because a company trying to scale from 1 million to 10 million to 20 million to 100 million, you can't afford hidden friction at the top. You can survive a bad ad campaign. You can fix a weak landing page. You can adjust pricing. You can rebuild the sales process. But a misaligned partner sitting in a position of influence can quietly drain the company from the inside. So that's a lesson I learned the hard way. And it's one of the reasons I coach founders the way I do today. I've had wins, I've had exits, I've had built and scaled companies, but some of the most valuable lessons came from the mistakes that nearly took me out. And this was one of them. Nearly took me out. So if you're building something serious, choose your partners carefully, choose your investors carefully, choose your co-founders carefully, because the wrong person doesn't just slow you down. They can change the entire outcome of the business. Sometimes the most expensive mistakes are not ones that you'll see on the P&L. It's the person you gave a seat on the table who never should have been there in the first place.